All right. Welcome back, everybody. This is my IT Security Labs, and we are back with yet another Windows 10 machine that we're going to be attacking. And our main attack vector today is going to be a buffer overflow. So here's the timeline. We're going to enumerate a domain joined Windows 10 machine. The most important thing here is this machine is joined to a domain. So that's what we'll be doing here. Then we need to identify a service that's running there that is vulnerable to a buffer overflow vulnerability. Then, of course, we'll be able to exploit the vulnerability, gain access to the machine. Then the second half of that, we're going to spend some time enumerating that machine for information about the domain. So we would like to run PowerView today. So it's mostly going to be a PowerShell inspired machine. Then we'll try to see what we can do. We do have our Security Onion intercepting traffic. And I have to tell you, I didn't test it a lot, so I'm not sure what it will catch. But we do have an intrusion detection system that's supposed to really capture all the traffic. So just a quick bit about myself. My name is Howard, and I do these live streams every Sunday at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. I started at Help Desk, and now I work as a cybersecurity engineer. I'm very passionate about learning, and I do these live streams for myself so I can actually learn new things and also share with you, and I hope you are going to learn a little bit today from the machine that we have. Quick setup that we have a UDM Pro. This is where we're going to be sitting on our Kali Linux machine, attacking a machine that is right here. This is our Windows domain controller all the way at the bottom here, the Windows 10 machine. So we should get a copy of this traffic here. We also have a Splunk in this environment, but I didn't get a chance to test it. So we might not check Splunk, or we might. But this is what our Security Onion environment looks like. It's good to see Mike, BT, and Philip. It's good to see you all. Thanks for joining tonight. All right, so without wasting a lot of time here, let's go and get started with our machine. So according to our diagram here, the IP address is 192.168.38.199. So that's what we are after. So let's go and scan for that. In fact, nmap minus sv minus sc. Let's do a T4 today. Try to speed things up because I'm pretty sure I'll be able to see it anyway. 38.119, 199 or 119. You see, this happens 199. All right, let's scan for TCP, open TCP ports on this system and see what's going on there. Pyrus, thanks for joining tonight. This is really cool stuff. I get really excited just knowing that every week we're going to be learning something new. So today we're going to be mostly focusing on a buffer overflow vulnerability. And I'll show you a simple way to exploit a buffer overflow vulnerability, and also just to prove to you that this is something maybe you should check out. If you go to exploit DB, it's insane how many buffer overflows you will see there. Almost every month there's one. See, I was looking for this one. All right, on the 9th of March, there was another one, which is kind of interesting. This is a Windows. Most of the time, when I see them on Windows, they're actually kind of exciting. Denial of service is not as fun for people like you and I, but it's also good to just practice. But as you can see, buffer overflows are all over the place, even in 2022. So they're worth learning about and also just knowing what we are doing with them. Let's refresh our intrusion detection system. What are we seeing right now as we just run nmap? Most of you have been here for a while. You probably know this is becoming noise. All right, so we see that nmap is being caught here in our intrusion detection system. All these ET scans, that's just nmap. Nothing really interesting here for now. All right. You know what? I make this mistake every week. Not today. I added VV to my nmap scan so I can actually see. So I discovered open port 80. First thing that I do when I see port 80 is I just visit the site. So open Firefox here. I'm also seeing that 139, 135, and 445 and 3389 are open. So from these ports alone, I can tell this is a Windows machine, because these ports are notorious for being on Windows, especially 3389 being Windows Remote Desktop. So 192.168.38.199. What do we have on port 80? If it's some random port, I usually use netcat, but this case is port 80, so I just visit the site just to see. It's taking its time here, but we should be able to see anyway after it's done. All right. So you will notice right away, right at the top here, it says Dupe Scout Enterprise version 10.8.18. If you see this, this is as easy as your life is going to be. The version is already shown here. All you need to do is literally just go and search for that application and see if it has any vulnerabilities out there. It also says no duplicates file search commands configured. Okay. There's a login page, which is always exciting. Admin, because it's me. Admin password. Really? Actually, I didn't practice there. I didn't even know the password. I just tried admin, and it let me in. I didn't know that was not part of my rehearsal. So I'm in by just guessing admin. So this thing takes admin as a password. And whatever it does, you can go to the About section here. Okay, it's an evaluation copy. It's running on Windows. It's running the 32-bit version of this thing. All right, and here's the website where you can go and find more help. So do what I do. Just guess the password. Admin password, administrator password. In this case, this thing let me in. I actually have no business being in here. It's not like there's anything that I can do. Add command. But I'm going to figure out. It says here, its version. Why don't we ask Google for that? I might have to get out of there. Actually, let's just go to exploit DB. All right. Oh boy. So as you can see here, we found an application that's running on our Windows 10 machine. And we have a ton of things going on here. This is like the vulnerable app, and it has buffer overflow left and right. The first question that you start asking yourself is, wow, how do I go about figuring out which one I am going to run? I'll tell you that first, today I'm going to avoid anything that is Metasploit with it, because that's too easy. So this is out. Anything that says Metasploit is out. Anything that says local is also going to be out, because I'm not local. I want remote access. So anything that's local is out. Sometimes you see the platform being other platforms like Linux instead of Windows. They'll be out. In this case, it's just Windows. All right. With that, this is an uncoded service path local. It's probably a privilege escalation, this one. This one is a remote overflow SID. And that is interesting. I like it because it's from 2020, but I also see another one here. These are probably the same thing. 2018, that's a little further. But I would pick on maybe on this one. All right, this looks interesting. We like this mostly because it's using Python 3. I mean, nowadays, if if anything, I prefer Python 3 exploits that are out there. It's tested on Windows 10. Let's verify, is this Windows 10 or what? These are the results from our Nmap scan. All right, so we see port 80, which is the one that we're interrogating right now. And sure enough, we have RPC. So this looks like Windows for sure. And our administrator is very silly. They named this computer Win 10. So I can insinuate that this is a Windows 10 machine from just the name that they give it, which is kind of, don't do that. Name your computer as something else that doesn't just give attackers like myself information. I didn't do an OS scan. Yeah, I didn't do an OS scan. So if I wanted, I can also do like a -OA to do an not OA, -A, like an aggressive scan that will actually give me the Windows version in this case. But this is a Windows 10 machine. So going back to our exploit, Windows 10 Pro 64-bit. There's another thing too. Windows, I think as of like a couple of years ago or so, they don't produce the 32-bit versions. It used to be where you need to figure out whether it's a 32-bit version or 64-bit version, and you kind of experiment. In this case, we're saying we'll take that. Then here's the thing that you need to look for when you're looking at buffer overflow vulnerabilities. When you read the exploit code here, there's two jackpots that can happen. If the creator had created a bind shell for you, you are in business. That means that you don't even need to go through the pain of generating this payload here using MS of Venom because it's a bind shell. What that means is you can just run this as is, then reach out to the machine and connect on the port that they generated the bind shell for you. In this case, they're using port 444. So we can just quickly run this the way it is after modifying maybe the IP address, and we can go to town. That is as easy as buffer overflows are concerned. And you see things like this, like as a 10-point machine or the easiest machines on Hack the Box or the OSCP or something like that. That's very easy. All we need to do is understand that it's targeting a host. In this case, we need to change this to be our IP address of our victim. Then the port. In this case, actually, I was too lazy. I didn't change the port. But if the port was different for that Dupe Scout application, you would have to change here. Then we can just go to town and run this thing the way it is. So what I would do is I would just come here, copy that, then come here and say, okay, this is the same exploit code. You notice that it's identical, except I came in here and I was like, okay, let's replace the IP address with our IP address of the victim. Then the port we left to the same. We left their bind shell to be the same. So we can experiment with both cases here. Let's be lazy and run this and make sure that it works. Then maybe let's find another way where we can generate our own payload. The only problem with generating your own payload with buffer overflows is if your IP address is part of the payload, the overflow will not work. So you will have to do it by hand, manually, and figure out the offset yourself. And tonight we're not doing that. I'm just going to show you that this is what a buffer overflow looks like. But even if you're doing it by hand, you end up with a Python script that looks like this anyway. There's a room on Try Hack Me, the buffer overflow. There's like, you get a ton of practice. This is as easy as things can be. So I'm going to leave this the same. And I named this exploit 2. So let's do this. It's Python 3. Exploit 2.py. That's the one that I have. Then, since we're doing a bind shell, you need to know what a bind shell is. Otherwise, you'll be out of luck here. we need to point netcat to our victim after the exploit runs. So I will have two terminals here. Actually, let me make sure that to restart my service here. I think it might have crashed on me. Before I attack it, I'm just going to restart it, make sure that it's running. All right. So the command that you need to be able to reach out to that machine is netcat. Listen to a numeric IP, and here's the version. I mean, verbose. You want it to be verbose to this IP address on 444. We are used to reverse shells. This time we're doing a bind shell. So let me split this vertically, horizontally, so we can do it side by side. All right, first, we're going to run the exploit. And buffer overflows don't always work. You need to be aware of that. Then, of course, we can, on this side, run that. So what happened here is our exploit ran, and it opened a port 444 for anyone to connect to. And we quickly joined port 444 over on this side here by just pointing to the IP address. That's as easy as things can be. Let's see if we can change that a little bit. Maybe we can do that later after we are done with the machine. But right now we can say, who am I? You're in as NT system. This is as terrible as this application can be. You're already in the system as NT system, which is all the permissions that you need. So /o. At this point, you have every privilege that you can on this Windows 10 machine. What is the one thing that you can do to quickly get a hold of passwords? Because as you can see, we just got our shell via the overflow. What is the one thing that we can do here to just quickly get our passwords, and then we can go to town and crack them, or just pass the passwords for a specific user? Please comment in the comment section. What can we do once we get a reverse shell? There's a few things that I think of while you're typing. One of the things is I can create a user here. I'm already NT authority. I can create a backdoor user by using the net user command. Then I can just add a separate user. Then I can sign in as that user. Since in this case, port 3389 is open, it'll be very easy. Add myself to the machine, add myself to the remote users group, then RDP into the system, and also make sure that I add myself to the administrators group, right? Because that's kind of nice. All right, so I'm going to say, I don't know how to unsplit my screen. I don't like this. Mike says we can use Mimikatz. You know what? Let's try Mimikatz. Let's use Mimikatz to dump the password hashes here. Okay, I'm going to the temp folder. Jeez, this temp folder is full of a lot of nonsense. Okay, I'm going to use setutil to move Mimikatz to this system. Then we can run Mimikatz and see if we can dump them some password hashes here. All right, I think I already have it in here. I'm going to reuse the one that we used, I think 2 weeks ago or so. Let's paste that. Clear ls. All right, so here I have mimikatz.exe. What is my IP address? Oh, it's 190. Isn't that interesting? It changed on me. Python 3 -m http.server 180. All right. So I'm going to use setutil because I want to leave off the land. Or maybe I can use, what is it? PowerShell. Setutil or PowerShell? Maybe let's use setutil to begin with. All right, we're going to use setutil to bring up mimikatz.exe, and it's going to the temp folder. And it's 190. This is why I like having notes. I don't have to worry about syntax after that. All right. So HTTP server is running. I'm in my temp folder. And there. My mimikatz should be in here. Always after you move your files to check for this. Oh, I didn't know that Windows Defender is blocking mimikatz setutil now. Okay, so we could have used PowerShell to move this file if setutil was being blocked. But another thing that you need to also know is that if you download executable files and you are not allowed to run them, in this case, we are in as NT authority, so it doesn't really matter. But sometimes you might not be able to save that file because Windows Defender will just clean it up. Wait a second. There we go. All right, now that we have mimikatz running, let's see. Let me pull my notes here on how I can dump password hashes. I don't have this memorized. I'm not that smart. Yeah, I found one dumping password hashes with mimikatz. All I need is just a command to do it. It's like a little dance that we have to do every single time. First, we need to elevate our privilege. I mean, we need to say privilege debug, then elevate our privilege, you know, the good stuff. All right. Token elevate. We're already there, though. Come on. All right. Now, let's do a log hash.text here if we wanted to see that. Wait a second. Okay. ls dump is now next. I'm just following some guide here. So the files are going to be named this. So let's see what we get. Okay. So we did get our NTLM hashes. I will not be cracking hashes today using John, but you can. You can do two things here. You can do a pass the hash command using evil WinRM, since we can do that here. You can crack the hash to get the passwords for users like this Vagrant user here, which is the one that, by the way, we cracked this a few weeks ago. If you crack this hash here, it will come back as Vagrant. There isn't anything special about this hash. So once we get the hashes, we get a password. We go back to our results. We see 3389 is open. We can try to do a remote desktop into this system and actually sign in, which is what I would do since it's already allowed. Or you can use evil WinRM and do a pass the hash. Or you can enumerate file shares. That's one thing you can do. Now that you have a password, you can either enumerate file shares from your Kali, or you can just use the same machine here and pivot to PowerShell. All right, so we don't want that anymore. So at this point, I'm going to say we have a password, and the password for this hash is called Vagrant. So the direction that we decide to go from here is up to us. We don't know anything about this machine except that it's a Windows 10 machine. I cannot clear my screen all the way, which bothers me. So let me see if I can sign into that system. Then we can just go and interact with it directly. But before we do that, I am obligated to try to see what happened here. We moved an executable across a network. That's going to be concerning if Surikata didn't catch it. All right. Okay. We caught something. In this case, Straka caught Mimikatz. This happened to us last time too when we used Mimikatz. We should also get another Surikata alert that says we moved an executable across a network. This is just a network intrusion detection system. There is no host-based here like Sysmon and everything. So let's actually look at Straka. What did we see? We moved a file called Mimikatz. It saw the generating strings here, it looks like. And Straka is an application that analyzes files as they are moved. So that's how we can see here. Okay, we do see, these are the scanners that were introduced. We had a Yara scanner, a hash scanner. I'm curious what they actually caught. Is it a hash that has something to do with Mimikatz? All right, so we found a Mimikatz hash skeleton key in memory. That is not good. So maybe I might have to compile my own Mimikatz if I don't want to move Mimikatz across a network like this. And the interesting thing is the rule reference is a Twitter account. That is amazing. I want to go and see that. You don't see this very often where people reference a Twitter account as a rule reference. It's usually, the ET Pro or whatever. So let's go to Twitter and see what this person said about that rule. By the way, you need to follow me on Twitter if you don't already do it. All right, so it's a Yara rule. I see what they're doing. A lazy memory hunt. In this case, it's looking for that. I knew it. They said it's for lazy attackers like us right now, script kiddies, who are using Mimikatz skeleton default. So the next thing that I'll ask myself is, wow, how do I not use Mimikatz skeleton default Kiwi key if I'm in the business of running Mimikatz all the time for my clients? That's something that I would put on my to-do things, like, hey, investigate how to properly run Mimikatz and not be one of the lazy people that gets caught by this rule here. All right. So that was kind of interesting to see that we did detect that, and that Yara rule ended up making it. And props to whoever this person who created it. It's simple yet effective in this case. And I'm pretty sure what all they did is they went and looked at the memory dump from Mimikatz after it ran and see the behavior. All right, it's Benjamin. I'm just finishing seeing what happened here. Oh, okay, this is cool. So here's a Yara string that actually matched for our Mimikatz. All right. So if anything, today we caught something in our untuned intrusion detection system. Let's see. Did we see anything else? No. All right. So next, we're going to move to Active Directory. We have a password. We create a password. I'm going to do a quick intro to PowerView. I'll show you how to run PowerView once you have credentials, just to interrogate Active Directory and make sure that you can get in. We could have, from that terminal, ask the system what the, say, domain is. But I just want to jump into PowerView right now and show you quickly how you can load PowerView directly on a Windows system and make sure that you can still run it and get very interesting information. So I'll introduce you to a few tools here. With that, I'm going to switch my screen to a different one. All right, first, this is the system that we were attacking here. This is the Duke Scout Enterprise application. If you want to do what I did tonight, just download that application from ExploitDB from any of those results, as long as the version is the same. Make sure that you go to options. In the server, you want to make sure that you enable web server. For fun, change this port to some random port, it will still work. Then if you are running it and you crash it using your testing, just in case you want to do a manual buffer overflow, you can always come to services and restart the service here. Make sure that you get it enough time. And what you will notice is that after you run the exploit from today, you will see that we do open port 444. This will happen. This is how you get your bind shell right here. This is port 444. And it will open. Oh, I have music. So, sorry about that. I always forget about this music. It's the streaming software. All right. So as you can see, you will open this port after that. With that, so we found the password, we signed in, and we are in a system. First, I'll open PowerShell after I get into the system. And in this case, on this system, I have my tools here. This is me practicing every time with all these tools. One of the things that you see is this is one of those systems that we use for learning. So we have a few tools here like Bedblood, Atomic Red, that you'll probably see me show you. But in this case, we are just going with PowerSploit, PowerView. There's a few things that you can run here. I want to show you in the recon here with PowerView.ps1. So first, you need to say import module. If you have never ran PowerView, this is what you need to do. Then the next thing that you need to do is do yourself a favor, go shopping. These are the instructions that I was using to dump the hashes. Go here. Hack tricks. These are probably the most interesting notes that you can have. And of course, the most up-to-date version, you can always find it from here if you want PowerView. And what do we use this tool for? This is what we use for interrogating a domain for interesting information. So In this case, I just hopped to a different machine, and it will tell you like, hey, by the way, after you import things, you can find domain information like by running get domain. This is like after you load the module for PowerView. If you don't load the module, this will not work. So let's start with that. You're just getting the lay of the land. This is you doing Active Directory enumeration here. Okay, what we see here, we don't have any children. This is the domain controller. If you didn't know where it is, it will say, hey, the name is dc.windomain.local. So if I were you and I had valid credentials, I'll now go straight to the domain controller and see if RDP is open there as well. And I'll just get on the domain controller. And in this case, that's what I did. I went to that and it's windomain.local. What else can we find? What did I do here? I lost my notes. All right. Let's see. I'm interested in users here. Can this thing dump me some users and also maybe with their information? In particular, we're interested in users, say maybe with pre-auth not required. These users are always interesting. And we got some. Most environments you will not see this. This is a vulnerable domain controller that I have here. It's meant for us to learn, but in most environments you will not see this. Especially if the people know a little bit about hardening the domain environment. In this case, I have a few users here that you can see that don't have pre-auth required. The next thing is I'll try to figure out which users they are, and if I can, try to see if I can just get their password hashes. But we do have quite a few people here. And that's a finding. Mike says he sees it all the time. That's so sad that it's still a thing out there. Okay. Let's find the information about groups. This time, let's actually get this command with actually, it will do a select for us. So if you know what you're doing, you don't even need to work that hard like I'm doing here. I'm not figuring things out. I'm just literally asking questions and everything has been done for me. So let's clear the screen here. So we're going to get some groups here. We're going to find grep, that's a grep with a select here. Admin count and description. Let's see if we can see how many groups. So we have a bunch of groups. This is how you get to know your target. In this case, we do have IT admins. We don't have any description for them, but anyone who is a group member of those IT admins is probably someone we're interested in interacting with and seeing what else they're doing. We also have the executives group, which is usually interesting because they might have special permissions. And you might actually see interesting things. So if you wanted maybe to steal their corporate secrets, see who is in the executives group, reset their passwords, or just grab their password and sign into the email and start reading their email. Nasty things like that. In addition to that, we also have the obvious things here. But admin count is just one in this case for some of them. Domain admins, server operators. All right. Mike says, open one of those users in. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Mike. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go to the properties. If anyone knows, please let me know in the comments. I want to find any users that have passwords in their comments. That's what I'm after. If I can do that, because I know there are some users that have passwords in their comments. So we can find domain info, users and groups and computers. I'm going to reuse this one, and I'm going to be targeting. I want to see, because there's this thing where people will put a default password when they create an account for a user in the comments. Sometimes people can enumerate for those. Oh, this one is just doing a grab. So this is a nice user list. What a wonderful command, because if I if I were doing this, I would like a nice clean list. So you use a select, expand property, then the same account name. So what if I wanted to just select? Can I do that? No. Let me see which sections the users are. There's about, I think, what, 50 or 100 users here. All right, so this is interesting. This last user here. It's an HTTP service account. People use these accounts to run websites, those service accounts. But sometimes that might be interesting. So if you've never done this, I highly encourage you to spend some time. It's really fascinating stuff. The fact that you can go to a domain controller, to any domain machine, load your tools and start just integrating it and figuring information. Right now, I'm just finding what I want to find today. But of course, there's a lot of things that will find things for you. Okay, so this did not show me the comments section. Is account description, I think that's what Windows calls it. Can you give me I need password. Check if any users are set. No, I don't want that. I'm looking for password. Oh, by the way, we can get a domain policy password. And low-hanging fruit. I think this is, no, let me see. I think this is the one. Oh, I like the noisy stuff. Ask GC for all computers and ask every computer if it has admin access. I like that. Find dash local admin access. This I think broke my DC last time. Yeah. Let's give it a moment to run. So we're using PowerView to make sure that we see things here. It's complaining about DNS host name, whatever that is. All right, while it's running, let's see what else we can do. Does anyone know how I can find the description of those users? Next, I'll go and expand a user, but I want to find a way to just list the description section. I think I might have thought about something. No. Okay, I really need to do that. I really need to find out, because if we go to, let's just go to Server Manager. I used to be a Windows Active Directory administrator, so I spent quite some time in here, mostly doing things by hand, which is not cool. By the time I learned PowerShell, I was about to leave. So here's a few users. And here's a few things to not do if you're a Windows administrator. So let's see. We have descriptions. This is what I was hoping to do. Really? Who does this? Who does this stuff? So we now know, oh yeah, user password is this. This is an administrator who's probably working by themselves, or they don't know any better, and they set up accounts. I used to work for a company where I would set up accounts before people start for the season. They were seasonal construction people. And when you set up accounts, each account needed to have a unique password so that they can be forced to change that password. And somehow I needed to know how to keep track of those passwords. And I can understand how this happens, where people pull things like this, where they just do that. So BT found BT and Mike also have a command for me. Let me try this command here. Find user, search field description, search term, pass. Okay, let's do that. So this is what we're searching for, and we want to see how many users have these passwords. And of importance, I'd like to know what membership these people are. Look at this one. This one is a project manager. All right, so let's do a find user field. I don't see that as a valid module. Let me make sure that my power view broke. This is what happened. Remember last time when I ran that command that kind of hung? For whatever reason, it broke my power view. Okay. I don't know why that happens, but Power View sometimes does break and it doesn't load all the modules, and that's exactly what you just experienced there. In this case, I'm going to Powersploit. In here, I think it's in the recon. No. All right. All right. So let's run one of these, just the net user, to verify that our Power View is running. All right, we're back in business. Now let's see if I have find user field. Nope, but I'll run it anyway. Um, I don't think this will work. No. So the command that I got from BT doesn't work. Anyway, what I wanted to show you was this happens here. So we can probably just keep moving, but I saw one only. There's probably other ones. This one, new user default password. What is the default password? It's the password 123 or something, probably somewhere. And here's a shared user. What does that even mean? Oh, this is not what I think it is. It's a shared user, meaning people have the same password and they will sign in with that user on the same computer. I think that's what this means. I swear, if people are still doing this, they need to stop. Like literally, like yesterday, there should not be a reason why we have a domain account and people are using the same password to sign in with that domain account. Even the administrator password. You know what people do with the administrator account? They set up the password to some random string somewhere, store that in a password vault somewhere. Then every administrator has check out admin accounts. There is no need for people to be doing a shared accounts. In this case, this is not a member of any special groups anyway, but this is an interesting one. I don't know if this that did that something. Oh yeah, no. Come on. My recon module here is kind of messed up. This is not a valid PowerShell. I don't know what happened here. All right. Let's see. Last time I did show you the accounts that did not require verification for Kerberos of authentication. Today we spoke about accounts that just have pretty much bad comments and also comments that show us that they're shared accounts, comments that show us that the account has a default password, which is kind of interesting. All right, let me see other computers. How many computers are in this domain? Because that's actually kind of interesting to me as well. And for that, I think I found the get computer here. I'll know how many computers are there. And depending on how these computers are named, I can figure out whether or not they are servers or workstations. So let's see. Let's clear that screen. So get computer is a module that we're going to use. And then, of course, same account name and operating system. That's what we're selecting. This is not a huge domain, by the way. As you can see here, I have the Windows Event Forwarder machine. Then I have the domain controller. Then I have the Windows 10 machine. So it even tells us, hey, you are running Windows 2016 standard evaluation and also Windows 10 Enterprise. This is the machine that we just attacked. In a real environment, you'll probably see quite a lot of machines here, probably hundreds of machines if it's a big company. So you might want to be careful with the output for this here. But the good thing is, it shows us here the account names. In this case, that's the same account name. You will notice the HTTP service is still there. Also, here's an Exchange service account. That's for those people who probably run on-premises Exchange accounts. If you can get in people's Exchange accounts and just start reading their emails, that will be a huge win. But sometimes being domain admin isn't enough. You might want interesting things. You might see those in emails. HTTP service, probably a website somewhere. You can sign in and read the website config files and go on the website and see what you can do there. Awesome. So that's how we can see. Let me see, what else can I try to find? Mike, what other interesting stuff do you do other than what I've been looking at here? In this case, I have one domain. Companies do have multiple domains and subdomains and trust. So I would want to go and see which ones I haven't enumerated. Most likely because you want to pivot from this forest to another forest that might be more juicy and interesting. Chances are you probably are in a dev environment, for example, and you want to go to the real information stuff. We got nothing on the domain trust. Okay, let's find local admins. I think well, this is the one that broke my stuff. Enumerated machines where a particular user group identifies local admin. No, not that. For whatever reason, this is the one that's breaking my my session. But let's try it again. Interesting. I need to Google that. Invoke user hunter, find machines on local. Okay. I don't have that one. I'm missing invoke user hunter, so I might have to bring it on my machine. And I also need to make sure that, yeah, it's still working. Okay. I don't have that one. Oh, here's an interesting one. The Kebrost one. Invoke Kebrost, then of course we can find all possible users. Let's see if we can actually do that. There. This is the easiest way of Kebrosting compared to the one that we did last time. I like this better. In this case, I see it's just a vagrant for now, but I can do this for other users as well. So I'm going to do invoke user hunter. Let's see if I can just do that. It is there. What was I talking about? All right, so I'm getting some errors here. Maybe I can just leave it to run. Anyway, this is how, if you have never interacted with PowerView, you might want to do that. Be aware that Sysmon and Windows logging will probably catch you. In this lab, actually, what I didn't show you is that we have PowerShell logging as well. So you will be generating a ton of traffic for the hunters to find you by doing this process here, especially if they have proper logging. The good thing that you have on your side is a lot of people don't log things, but for things like domain controllers, I would hope and assume that they should, by default, have PowerShell logging enabled on those devices. If you have a domain controller, an Exchange server, or anything running something critical, I would, if I were in their position, enable PowerShell logging, and I'll be looking at these logs to see everything that this person did on my systems. But in this case, we'll see what else we could have found. If there's anything else that you would like me to show, please let me know. Otherwise, this was really fun for me to go through a buffer overflow, break into a machine, dump the passwords using Mimikatz, then end up there with PowerView, just interrogating the domain and figuring out interesting information. It's fun stuff. And like I always say every week, this is how we learn. This is how we know new things. This is how we build new skills. And the more questions that we keep asking, the better. Looking at our Security Onion, I really don't see a lot happening here. The default alerts didn't catch anything of interest other than Mimikatz being caught here. Of course, we did see a reverse shell. We don't have an alert for port 444 from Suricata. That's concerning. We should have port 444 being monitored because lazy attackers, according to this person here, do that, and that's exactly what we did. Port 444 by far is the default port. It should have triggered an alert here. But before I finish, I'm fascinated by this structure here. Wait, I don't have pickup option. So I only get pickup option for I see. I need to drill down first. Let's get a pickup for one of these. My question is, do we actually get the file that Straka saw, or is this just going to be from the metadata of Straka? Because we have never done this before. I don't think we have a file. Let's open this in Wireshark. We're trying to understand what happened. How did we get caught? Okay. They do have the file. Okay, so we do have the Mimikatz executable file here. All right. That's interesting. That's interesting. I wanted to make sure that I can see this, and that's yeah. So if you wanted to make sure, if you get that alert and you are wondering whether or not you actually somebody did transfer Mimikatz, you can come and verify. Here's the GET request that we sent from 199 to, in this case, 190, which is our Kali Linux. And of course, we did this unencrypted using port 80, so the file was there. All right, I just wanted to go full circle here. Otherwise, we had a lot of fun. We went full circle. We learned Buffer Overflow. We uploaded Mimikatz, and we actually found out that Straka does a good job with the Yara rules for it. We then spent some time really interacting with PowerView. As you can see, I'm a long way from getting comfortable with PowerView, and that's exactly why I do these things, so that if we keep doing it more and more, and I'll probably spend the next hour just messing with PowerView as well, because it's kind of fun. Otherwise, I would like to thank you, and please make sure to subscribe, like, and if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. I'm planning on maybe doing another members only live stream where we mess up with things as well. But for now, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time every week, we have something new for you, and I hope to see you next week. Have a good one.